there's going to be a fire hose of BS that is going to be coming our way from Canberra, even more so than usual, because the federal budget is just but a couple of sleeps away. I know, who cares? But the reality is that it is being printed, it has been printed, it is in the possession of all of the people in Parliament House who need it. It'll be formally released to a whole bunch of reporters that get locked up so they get the government spin, and they all come out and, funnily enough, say exactly the same thing. Thankfully, we will be watching it in real time. We'll learn about the budget, go inside and out for you. And 9:30 in a 90-minute special edition of Paul Murray Live on Tuesday night, I'll pull it apart for you. I'll tell the 5 things that you need to know. We'll call out the BS. We'll see the games that are being played. But every Treasurer loves the budget because it really is their moment in the sun, as a way of sort of reminding us that there are other people than the Prime Minister who could run the country. And Jim Chalmers was out there with all the family photos. Oh, here I am, just naturally picking up some flowers for Mother's Day. A few days ago, there was photographers brought into the family home because I'm a dad just like you. And again, unlike the left, I'm not going to be a nasty bugger. Of course he loves his kids. Of course he loves his family. Of course he loves his wife. But that has been the pre-budget look at me going into the budget. But of course, at the heart of this budget is going to be a failure to deliver on what they promised to deliver on, and that is to actually do something about cost of living. Yet it doesn't stop them saying it. In all of the pre-hype interviews, many of which took place on all the different types of TV stations' Sunday news shows, oh, there's definitely going to be help when it comes to cost of living.
Cost of living really is the biggest priority in the budget. We know that you're under the pump, we know you're under pressure, and we're trying to help where we can in the most responsible way.
You know, we've done this for months, we've done it for years. We know that that's not true. Now, yes, this budget will formally put in place the changes to the Stage 3 tax cuts, which, remember, if you're earning just $45,000, it's $15 a week. And even the best spin that everyone can put on the numbers, if this moves this way and this moves that way, it's going to be what? $39 a week in extra help. Now, that extra help is, of course, not money that the government produces. They just turn around and say things like, you'll be able to keep $39 a week. Now, yes, when you add it all up together, you can push it as close to $2,000 as you want, but that's not how the system works. Of course, when you pay your tax, you pay it weekly, fortnightly, monthly, whatever your pay cycle is. So you're not going to notice that change. But I've got to say, well done to one group in the media who didn't just let Jim Chalmers get away with just the sales job, the look at me, I'm so good, I'm the guy next door, I could be your future Prime Minister, all of that rubbish. And it was SBS. Now, SBS actually did a report a couple of days ago about just how many people are struggling in the Queensland town of Gladstone, that of course we've done our town in not that long ago. And Anna Henderson, who works for SBS, decided to play to the Treasurer some of the things that had been in that report. Now, this is part of it, and it is a bloke who now lives in a car near the river because his rent went up too high and he just could not afford it. Here he is, and this was what was shown to the Treasurer.
The rent's gone from $180 a week to $320. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but $320 is pretty much my ceiling. People need to be able to breathe and think about more than just budgeting for every tiny little thing.
So the Treasurer was shown what that bloke is going through. It's an example of the person we've talked about so many times for the most obvious of reasons, because not only do we care, but we also have to make sure that we send the message to the people who are watching us right now in their taxpayer-funded accommodation in Canberra, you've got to do something about it. You don't just yap about it, you've got to do something about it. Now, the Treasurer's response to that piece of footage was, of course, to point to the billions of dollars which will go into social housing over the next 10 years. But that bloke's living by a river tonight. But it was the following comments which, to me, showed how the Treasurer has no interest in actually doing something, because he may well have been shown a video of a classic car somebody was fixing up. There was no emotional response. This, in fact, is what he said. We would need to always do better, and we can do better. there will be billions of dollars in relief and assistance for people who are under the pump in addition to a tax cut for every taxpayer. That's it. Just sell. Not, I understand, I'm going to call that bloke, I'm going to work out what we can... None of that. It just was an inconvenient little bump on the road of self-promotion in the lead up to a budget, which will, of course, make everything look rosy. Everything that they give to you is, of course, largely done either with borrowed money or with higher taxation. But again, the details about the number of people who are looking to something from the government who will get nothing from the government and will not wake up any better. Now, they'll say, oh, there's a tax cut. There's $39 a week. Now, I understand when you're looking at that across the Australian population, it's billions and billions of dollars. But you've got to divide it by the number of people that are working and divide that by the 52 weeks, and you actually see how little it is. So while everyone will focus on the big number, I'm going to focus on the number that you will be doing in your head to work out whether anything has actually happened, whether the needle has moved at all. And people need it. My bombshell buddy, Liz Tilley, writing in the Courier Mail today, talks about how there's 1 million people in Queensland, 1 million households in Queensland that are in financial stress. Now, I've also been banging on for some time that this government is in a position to cut petrol taxes. It'd cost the exact same money about the changes they've made to make sure that some people won't have to pay slightly higher uni fees. $3 billion. He's going to have a surplus. And remember, if the surplus is anything over $3 billion, then he's got the room to move. But he won't move. In fact, he's even telling us on television he won't move on a tax that his government doubled since they came to office and now is 49 cents per litre.
You know, we think there are other ways to provide that cost of living help, and we've got $107 billion in tax cuts flowing in the coming years from July already, and that will provide that average tax cut of $36 a week in addition to the other cost of living help that we are providing.
No. Honestly, think about the bloke living by the river right now. The bloke living by the river in his car. If he uses his car, he needs to pay for it with petrol. The family that are dropping their kids off at childcare. The bloke who's driving the van. The woman who is going from job to job to job as a hairdresser, they all use their cars. This is an opportunity to lessen the pressure. But for some pig-headed reason, they won't do it. And perhaps it's because it is the source of revenue to them. It's billions of dollars of revenue to them. And if you're actually honest about the upcoming budget and its apparent surplus, you can bring it down to petrol taxes, alcohol taxes, cigarette taxes. All of that takes you way past $20 billion in revenue. So without that, we would be in deficit, which is why he won't cut it. So despite the fact that they'll bang on about it and talk all the time constantly about the cost of living and the focus of it and the reason why, the reality is they could pull a lever, but they choose not to because it helps them have a budget surplus, which gives them the opportunity to go to an election and say, how good are we? Interesting poll today has found that 77% of voters don't think that the federal budget will deliver on cost of living at all. So they want to have it both ways. They want to talk it up like they're doing it, because I'm the guy next door and the flowers and the family and all that stuff. But when he's actually in a position to do something that would help the person who's living in their car or the guy who's homeless and sleeps in his car by the river, he won't do it. Because they need the gold star of a surplus rather than actually doing anything to help people like that bloke. Extraordinary.